What's the weirdest thing a medical professional has casually said to you? I live in Ireland. The surgeon who replaced my hip is also a farmer. The day before I was due to be discharged, he came in on his rounds. He said, "I may or may not see you tomorrow, it depends on the dog." So I said, "Okay, what's up with the dog?" He told me the dog broke his leg and was having it set tomorrow, but he wasn't sure what time, so I said, "Sure, bring in the owl dog and I'll mind him." This is rural Ireland, bear in mind, and I was in the convalescent area of the hospital by then, and shortly after breakfast he arrived in, with the dog, lovely border collie with his leg in plaster. He stayed with me watching TV till the doc was finished replacing another hip and was ready to discharge me and we could all go home. It could only happen in Ireland. When I was like 20, my endocrinologist took a good look at me and asked, "Are you okay with your face being so asymmetrical?" I had never really noticed it before, but boy have I noticed it since. Redditor responds. Thanks for the complex, asshole. When I was 12 I had a dentist say, "Hold on, I think I might be counting wrong, you shouldn't have those yet." Okay, never mind, those are definitely your wisdom teeth. Your mouth is just huge, I guess. They said it was the youngest they've ever seen anyone get their wisdom teeth. They called in every dentist in the building to come look at my mouth. This is no joke. I had a medical professional say, "I used to be a heroin addict, so I'm pretty good at this." As she was putting in my 4 LMFAO, I laughed so hard. Redditor responds. The plasma place I went to in college seemed to only employ ex-junkies. They were masters of their craft. First Redditor responds back. Then again, like you said, they know what they are doing, plus good for them for getting clean. This is the part where all your dignity goes out the window. I'm going to tape your penis to your abdomen. Redditor responds. They did this to me along with my nads during butthole surgery. Fun times. I had a really weird throat issue. It didn't hurt, it just felt like something was stuck in there. I had been a vegetarian for years at this point and the doctor said I likely had a chicken bone stuck in there. Wouldn't take no for an answer. Redditor responds. Haven't you heard? Humans will unknowingly eat an average of 7 chickens in our lifetimes due to them crawling into our mouths while we sleep. #science #facts. After destroying my knee riding BMX at 17, the emergency surgeon said, "Wow, really fucked that up." 10 years later and another serious knee injury from riding, I saw the same surgeon. He did a great job on the first one. First words out of his mouth were, "I remember you." Fucked up the other one, huh? Redditor responds. I like this guy. Another Redditor responds. He waited 10 years for that moment. Another Redditor responds. Probably made his entire career. Back pain, I'm not young. Doctor just said basically, well, that's just life for you. You're tall. So I'm just going to end up being a hunched over 90-year-old? LOL, you're not going to see 90. Pardon? How many tall old people have you ever seen? Oh, yeah, okay. Redditor responds. How tall are you? I'm a 6-foot tall woman and I think about this a lot. There are no tall old ladies. Just little olds. Another Redditor responds. Reminder, you shrink as you age. Those little old ladies used to be taller. Another Redditor responds. Very true. My great-aunt was 6.7 feet at her tallest but was 5.11 feet when she died at 95. Another Redditor responds. Dig her ass up and get her on the court. If you don't mind, I'd like to show everyone pictures of your tonsils. According to her, I had the most disgusting tonsils she had ever seen in her years in the business, and gosh darn she wanted to show them off. Redditor responds. I had a similar experience at a dentist. I apparently had a very rare problem, and even the oldest doctor only had seen this 2 times in his life. For the next few sessions all other doctors were called in and he showed them it. I was fine with it, but it was an odd situation sitting on the dentist chair while 4 doctors and a few nurses were around you and looked very interested what will happen next. So I was the real-life example for a textbook lecture. Another Redditor responds. My husband has 2 rare, chronic illnesses and his doctor had the residents try to diagnose what he has based on his symptoms. None of them got it right. He said it was kind of funny to watch them all trying to get it right. Was living in a foreign country and had a cold/flu type illness. Went to the doc and he comes in eating a bowl of cereal. Already weird. Check some things and says, "Do you know what AIDS is?" I'm in complete shock and say yes, I do. He follows up with, "It's a virus and there is no cure." Goes on to explain why there is no cure, all while I'm seeing my life over as I know it. Finally ends with, "But you don't have that virus, you have a different one, much more common and treatable, but I wanted you to understand why an antibiotic wouldn't work." Still in shock I'm like, "So I don't have AIDS then, right?" He goes, "No," and walks out. What a roller coaster. Redditor responds. Yeah. I went to a sexual health checkup and the doc just started listing each possible STI, before finishing with, "You don't have those. You just hang on right there, we will get you a wheelchair and admitted to the hospital. We have to do a colonoscopy, but don't worry, I will knock you out before sticking a camera up your ass." Redditor responds. My GI doc was named, no lie, Dr. Stiff. After my last colonoscopy, he told me in the recovery room, "Well, that's the last time you're getting stiffed. I'm retiring end of the year." My surgeon, during surgery to replace pins in my broken finger that had been pushed out by my own body, "I'm really getting them in there this time, you little freak of nature." Redditor responds. I would kind of be flattered by this. Also, did you make a lot of Wolverine jokes or did the pins get pushed in a direction that wasn't along your fingers? First Redditor responds back. Sadly, they were put in to hold the bone in place so it could heal. The pin holes healed too fast, and pushed the pins out of position so they weren't holding the bone where it needed to be. I looked more like a knockoff Edward Scissorhands than Wolverine, lol. Another Redditor responds. My doctor once asked me, male, if I had been hit in the taint. I was young and didn't know what a taint was, so he said, "You know, it taint pussy and it taint ass." Another Redditor responds. You can't ask a kid if they've been hit in the perineum. Hell, you can't ask an average adult that. But it's still a relevant question. Source, I'm a doctor. If you want to help people, don't go into medicine. As a doctor, I'm nothing more than a people mechanic, and much like a car mechanic, I patch people back together well enough to get them out of the door until I see them again. If I could go back, I'd run as far away from medicine as I could. Redditor responds. You know what I think, if a doctor said this to me I would respect and trust them more, lol. My son is about your age and single, do you want his number? Said the gynecologist. Redditor responds. So while checking out your lady parts, Doc was like, you know who would really like this? My oldest, David. Another Redditor responds. Jacob is more of a butthole guy, but David? David will love this right here. Dar, you look great. How did you lose weight? Son, eating disorder, anorexia, doctor, well, keep doing whatever you are doing, it's working great. Redditor responds. Oh man. I had a family member who was dropping weight and everyone was telling her to keep doing whatever she was doing. She was doing crystal meth. Thankfully quit it soon, she couldn't afford it. So yeah, none of use that phrase anymore, with anyone. My previous OBGYN came through my line at my old job. For some reason I blanked on who he was. Like I knew him, but for the life of me I couldn't remember how. He saw I was struggling and said, "Don't remember me? I'll give you a hint, last time I saw you you were in my office with your ankles in the air." Loudly, in front of a line of little old ladies fresh from church, wanting to buy flowers from the garden center. He was an amazing doc and figured out what was wrong with me when no other doc could, but in that moment the embarrassment could have killed me lol. Redditor responds. Being a knowledgeable doctor and being socially inept often go hand in hand. I told an OBGYN during an exam my husband and I had just started trying to get pregnant and she said, "Are you tracking your cycle or just fucking all time?" Hearing that come out of a small elderly black woman was freaking hilarious. She was close to retirement and had zero filter, miss her. Not me, but Mom. She's in remission for a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that invaded her brain. She was getting a scan to confirm the cancer had left her brainpan and the doctor came in and said, "Good news. We've scanned your brain and confirmed that there's nothing in there." I had a doctor tell me that my metabolism is so slow that I would do very well in an apocalypse. Redditor responds. My doctor told me this when he noticed my chronic low body temperature and asked me other questions about weight gain and pooping frequency. He said, "Some people are just built to hibernate, you're just like, hibernating all the time." This was in the same conversation where he diagnosed me with a sleep disorder too. Can't even hibernate properly. Another Redditor responds. Somehow a few of my old co-workers and I would make poop jokes and were very comfortable with each other when one of them claimed she would only go once a week. She was shocked that I'd go multiple times a day. My stomach hurts thinking of not going at least once a day. When my girlfriend was in the ICU, one of the nurses sorta shrugged and said dismissively, "She's gonna die anyhow." She should have. Her kidneys had shut completely down and she was so swollen that her tongue wouldn't fit in her mouth. We were making the decision whether to continue life support or not. She didn't die. A month and a half later she walked out of the hospital and into my car for the ride home. Redditor responds. When I was in the hospital with COVID, my nurse told me to either breathe or die, but I needed to choose because she was busy. Wow. You have the flattest feet I've ever seen. Redditor responds. Couldn't help thinking about the Barbie movie lol. If you ever tried to have a baby, the kid would snap your pelvis in two and rip you in half. Said by my gynecological surgeon. He said it in the most casual manner. I was mortified. Redditor responds. I honestly think there's a thing with surgeons' brains where they're around it so much that they don't get what's normal to the rest of us after a while. Another Redditor responds. I worked with palliative patients for over half a decade. Lots of gallows humor, etc. etc. Every now and then I forget to turn on my filter, say something wildly blunt/inappropriate/insensitive, and realize I probably should not have said whatever it was when I see the look on the other person's face. Cue the quick subject change. You have pretty blood followed by, I bet you have heavy periods. Redditor responds. The fuck? Was a teen and seeing my pediatrician. There was a baby or infant in another room wailing its head off. After a few minutes, my doc said, "Don't mind him, we just lopped his leg off." Wait, did he say he wanted to be awake? When I was in the operating room waiting to get my appendix removed, I met the anesthesiologist and asked to him make sure I didn't wake up in the middle of it. I didn't want to be aware of what was going on. He counted me down and right before it all went black, he said this to the surgeon. I remember thinking, you asho. And then it all went dark. Redditor responds. I don't envy anesthesiologists. I mean, they always ask their patients to tell something about themselves to distract them, and never hear the end of it. Whoops. I'm just going to kind of tack it on. It'll probably hold. While having my fingertip reattached after a freak accident. As I left the ER, a different medical professional said to me, "Oh wow, they saved it. We were for sure you were going to lose it. We even placed bets." ETA, the "whoops" was a comment the doc made after putting in one of the stitches. It did not inspire confidence. Edit 2 for the story. At an out-of-town rehearsal dinner for a wedding my family was in the next day, my husband and I went to set up a pack-and-play for our youngest. The rails weren't locking into place, so we got on either end and grabbed the corners. Before I could get my hands in the right position, my pointer fingers were under the corner caps that cover the hinge area. My husband, a strong weightlifter man, pulled on his end as hard as he could. Left pointer fingertip nearly severed, right pointer fingertip crushed and bone fractured but still attached. Pack-and-play covered in blood, people freaked out. I did not pass out or throw up. Husband took me to a nearby hospital and I stood in the wedding the next day as a bridesmaid. I snapped both of my Achilles while finishing off a set of heavy leg presses with calf extensions. I didn't close it all of the way and the sled crashed down on me, pinning my legs next to my head. Yes, I was dumb not to use the safety pins. They weren't there, they constantly disappeared to other machines, so I was lazy for not using them and paid the price. The doctor looked at my scans and said, "These are mirror images of each other. You must have good form." My gynecologist, while trying to remove my IUD when the strings weren't visible and fishing through my cervix, with local anesthesia, thank God. "Come here, kitty kitty." In all honesty, I think he spaced out and was very concentrated to avoid unnecessary pain. Uterus wasn't happy with the invasion, and he most definitely has cats, and the words just came out. He bursted out laughing with embarrassment and said sorry more than I could care to count. Honestly, I thought it was hilarious. I've been seeing him for a long time for many IUDs and he's a gem. I was getting an EKG, sitting there with my full titties out, and the doctor tells me I remind him of a girl he used to see in college. Redditor responds, "Yours is way weirder and more inappropriate, but I literally had an EKG this morning and the young, new, I'm guessing, nurse told me where she was putting the stickers and these ones will go along your boob." Just made me giggle that she didn't say breast. Went in for my checkup 6 weeks after my second kid and the intern who was shadowing my OBGYN made the comment, "Oh, hey, you're looking great." Not to my face but to the bottom half of me. Redditor responds, "OMG, my OBGYN did my pap smear while my husband was in the room, which I requested because I have a lot of anxiety with gynae appointments after a few miscarriages and a stillbirth." Dr. "Oh wow, that's a beautiful cervix. You want to see it?" Asterisk looks at my husband's star. Naturally curious husband, yes. Excited and happy Dr. "Can I show him? It looks so nice and healthy." Me, utterly caught off guard, yeah sure. Doctor goes on to show and explain my cervix to my husband. It was a weird day for all of us. By the time my daughter was born a year later, he usually saw us out of his office with a warm goodbye for me and a "take care, brother," for my husband. "What the hell is that?" while pulling a small piece of metal out of my eyelid. "That shit hurt." If you don't need these pain meds now, you can save them for another time. Our doc giving me a bottle full of Dilaudid for a broken thumb. The early 2000s were a wild time for prescription drugs. I live in an area where many people collect and search hard for specific bourbons and whiskeys. My psychiatrist found out that I work at a liquor store and asks me about the whiskeys my store has in stock for a solid 10 minutes. My apps are scheduled to be 15 to 20 minutes long. Every single appointment. I'm just trying to get my mood stabilizer refilled. I was 18 at the time and went to the family doctor that brought me into the world. The reason was I was having great pain urinating and was leaking a pus-like substance. After getting a shot I went to his office, I sat down and he lit a Winston, rocked back in his chair whilst taking a big drag and said, "I am going to talk to you like a Dutch uncle. If you do not know if it is clean, keep your goddamn zipper zipped up." As we come to the end of this video, I want to express my gratitude for your time and attention. If you've enjoyed what you've seen and want more of it, please don't forget to subscribe. Your support is what fuels this channel, and together, we can continue to grow and bring you even better content in the future. Thanks again, and until next time.